Rival House Network.
So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. We face our common difficulties. They concern, thank God, only material things.
What's up, everybody? Got another episode here. I'm trying to keep to my promise. My New Year's resolutions, as I put it, was to be more consistent with this particular show. For any of you guys that follow our other programs, we do those super regularly, and sometimes it takes precedence over this one, sadly. But I want to be able to do these at least consistently on a monthly, if not a bi-weekly basis. But so far, so good. We're 2 for 2 now. And I want to say, if you guys are following the other shows, you guys might know that I am currently in Europe. And in particular, I'm in London, England. And right across the table from me is a good pal of mine, an old friend going back a decade, Mr. John Milan.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
And you might be wondering, what accent is that? Is it Danish? Is it French? Is it American? Is it hoity-toity Fraser Crane? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's I get asked all the time, where's that accent from? I get South African. Sometimes I get Irish. Canadian.
What's your posh accent? He was doing this British posh accent before we actually started rolling, and I want him to do it. Go ahead. It's pretty good.
Well, it's based off the voice of a YouTuber that I listen to all the time, and his name is Carl Benjamin. And he's sort of a posh, obviously went to a public school, which is like a sort of your Oxford, Cambridge type education. So he's well educated and he's got a bit of a posh accent like this. So I've listened to hours and hours of this YouTuber, Carl Benjamin, also known as Sargon of Akkad. It's a great voice.
And as much as I love that voice, we'll stick with the regular one because I can't take it because I'm looking at you right now and it's hard to take you too seriously.
We're not going to keep a straight face.
No. Well, we thought it was a great idea to talk. You had the idea of chatting with me because as somebody from the United Kingdom currently, you've been here, about a decade, 11 years, something like that?
Yeah, just over a decade.
Okay.
11 years or so.
You thought it'd be interesting to discuss pretty much anything and everything, but in particular, it started with the topic of the political landscape, especially of America, from the perspective of somebody across our pond, right? Mm-hmm. And then versus someone like me who actually lives there, in which you've been in America, right? Yeah. You have ties to America.
Yeah, ties in as such as friends, no relations, no family. Nothing like that, but I have been there a number of times, usually short visits, no longer than a month or two. So, but my schooling was an international school and it was American and Canadian teachers. So I do feel like I had some sort of education and connection to the country from an early age, for whatever that's worth.
So to keep it very simple and to the point to start off with, what is your opinion of somebody like Donald Trump being a Brit?
Wow, straight in. Good. Yeah, why not? Right off the bat, I'm not going to have the sort of opinion that a large percentage of people walking around London are going to have, and which would be extremely negative, extremely one-sided. I actually have things, I try to look at things more rationally, and Donald Trump is someone, I try to look at what he's doing as opposed to just sort of emotional arguments against him or hearsay or accusations, which are often biased. And the way I see it is I like a lot of things he does because he says what he's going to do and he usually tries to follow through on his promises, mm-hmm. which I think can't be said for a lot of politicians in general.
It's unheard of. It really is. I mean, even if you think these propositions he makes are absolutely bananas, you can't dog the guy for actually trying to go through with what he promised. I mean, he had a campaign. He made promises in those campaigns. He wins. And oh my gosh, he's actually trying to deliver them. Of course, the people that didn't want him in office to begin with, they're going to be mad when he's trying to do them. But I mean, if it was your person that won, I mean, wouldn't you expect them to deliver on what it is that you voted in for? I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Now, you said the majority of people in London might have a particular perception of Donald Trump.
Correct.
Now, I would think that the people that voted for something like Brexit have a similar conservative train of thought. Now, clearly there was a majority of people that voted for that. Now, but you still think a lot of those people hate someone like Donald Trump and what the Conservative Party stands for these days?
No. So, firstly, I think you could relate London to somewhere maybe like California,
Okay.
to Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York.
Makes sense.
Which from
San Francisco's on its entirely own plane, by the way. It's
well,
just
there you go. Can I say California? Is that a good
Yeah,
way of just
as a
describing
whole,
a general,
for sure,
very
for
liberal
sure.
state with a lot of liberal, a lot of Democrat, very Democrat
yeah,
strong?
for sure.
New York, would New York be from the way I see it? New York is
They're
quite
definitely
liberal.
liberal. I've spent quite a bit of time in New York in the last year, and that's definitely the impression I got. You know, I didn't see. I mean, I'm sure there's conservatives in New York, but they're not exactly the ones that are walking around in their MAGA hats and really flaunting it, right?
Okay, so there's not a lot of MAGA hats, not a lot of Trump
No.
bumper stickers and so on.
It was Hillary territory or where whoever, you know.
right.
I bet you go
Okay.
to places where I'm from in the Midwest, you know, Missouri, it is Trump signs as far as the eye can see. People are proud to brand it. They wear it. They wear it as a badge of honor.
Middle America.
But this is also the part of the country where it is very common that in front of every suburban home, they have American flags up. It's a very patriotic part of the nation, right? You know, where I live now, it's not like that. Now, technically, Arizona is a red state. I think we're on the cusp now. It's pretty 50-50. You know, it's starting to blur a bit, but still,
Can I just ask something? Is Arizona been traditionally a red state?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, gun loving, right?
So majority red state. Yeah.
But I believe, like I said, we just we just elected our first senator who is a Democrat in a while. So, I mean, that's not I believe I'm not mistaken there, but it's still technically red, but it is pretty close to being 50-50. But regardless, I walk around in Phoenix, Arizona, and you don't see American flags. I'm not seeing, you know, I might go on a walk, and I go on jogs all the time, and I'll go on long walks. You know, maybe if I walk around for 2 hours, I might see an American flag.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, in Missouri, the Heartland, Nebraska, Iowa, every other house sometimes. It's like crazy. And it's just part of the fabric, right? You have the dads out barbecuing in the summer, and they're wearing American flag T-shirts and their khaki shorts and their New Balance kicks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Grilling the hot dogs, getting ready for 4th of July.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, people there, they
Stereotype,
celebrate 4th of July everywhere. You know, it just depends on which part of the country you're in, the part that they're really exploiting, right? Some people just want to have fun and drink and blow shit up, right? But you go to certain places in the Midwest, of course, there's people that want to do that too. But you have people like my grandfather, which, by the way, he's of the generation that's always going to turn up to the voting booths, right? He's the reason why Donald Trump gets elected. He's the reason why any conservative official gets elected, because as much as the young kids want, you know, pie in the sky Bernie Sanders dreams, a lot of them stayed up too late hitting the bong, and they missed they missed the ballot. They don't get up out of bed to go, or they don't think their vote really matters, right? They might have a loud voice on social media, but they're not turning up, right? They're not doing their homework, right? They maybe they know maybe they know the equations, right? But they're not showing up and acing the test. They're fucking it up in that sense. But I guarantee you, when I've gone to the polls, right, the last 2 elections, when I go, it is nothing but old timers, right? It is old, even in Arizona. Like I said, you go there and it's all the people with the MAGA hats or whatever, American flag, real patriots. They are showing up bright and early, and they are voting, and they're bringing their entire family to vote. It is different. So my grandfather, that's the kind of guy that is celebrating the 4th of July for what it stands for, because he loves America, right? Yeah. My grandfather's a diehard Christian, amazing man. But even he admits, you know what, these days, Christmas is more about commercialism and consumerism than anything else. So I gravitate a little bit more to Independence Day, because to me, that still is taken somewhat seriously where he lives, because it's a big deal. So I don't know.
Interesting. I think that's a sort of view that we may not see so much over here, that side. It might be depicted in sort of a caricatured sort of way, or sort of in a demeaning way, representing that chunk of America, so that middle America, or they call it the Bible Belt, or whatever you want to call it. That isn't really well represented over here in the media. So it's not something, so this is like news to me. It's interesting to me to hear this, because I don't hear that part of America described.
Well, and I'm not trying to come off too hardcore on one side or the other to anybody listening or anything else. I mean, if anything, you know, if my Zach from our other podcast, he does co-hosts this every now and again with me, but he likes to say it's a cop out when you have somebody that's a conservative, and instead of just coming out and saying they're conservative, they kind of go for the pussy movement and say, well, I'm I'm a centrist, I'm a kind of a right-leaning centrist. Bullshit, you're conservative. Yeah. You try and act like, gray area topics.
Sounds like me sometimes, actually.
But the thing is I really am, seriously. Okay. So,
sorry, when you say you really are.
I believe. Well, I am a conservative, I think, but I believe in gray areas. I'm not across the board on certain things. You take something like abortion, right? Okay, abortion. Now, I could easily tell you what I would do in my situation if it were completely up to me. Yeah. If I got somebody pregnant, I would hope to God I would want to take responsibility for it, because I wouldn't want to make a certain action and live with a certain action because I do believe in a certain thing. With that said, I'm not 100% sure I believe the government should be making those decisions for people, right? So it's kind of this weird gray area. It's kind of like I wish I could cast a vote saying I vote that people really make the best decision, like they just really come to grips with what you're doing and maybe think like me. Yeah, but I can't tell you what to do. But I know there's so many issues with that. There's so many checks and balances, right? Yeah. So if we didn't have abortion, man, what would happen to the surplus population? It'd be insane. Who knows? And you could even branch off and bring in things like cures for AIDS and mainly cancer. AIDS is pretty in control for the most part.
And overpopulation is a problem as well. It's something that we need to watch out for.
Can you imagine?
We are overpopulating the planet.
Can you imagine if every irresponsible person, and I'm not trying to blanket that, right? Like everybody that has irresponsible, but let's face it, you have certain populations in certain parts of the country, the ghettos and certain, it's associated with like maybe the more poor class, and maybe it comes down to education, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, in Arizona, I'll say it again, some of the, some are like Tucson, some are that's a little closer to the border, but even in Phoenix, I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but you see a lot of very, very, very young, single Latin mothers, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a stereotype there. It's like, oh my gosh, well, the deadbeat Mexican guy ran off, whatever. I'm not saying it's the case, but it has nothing to do with ethnicity. It doesn't. You know what it has to do with? It's education, right? Yeah. Because Arizona has really piss poor public schools. And I think a part of that is there's so many of their schools in certain towns and certain neighborhoods that are strictly Spanish. Okay. Or some of the poor neighborhoods, you have only Spanish speaking kids going to them and they don't know the language and they have an extra hard. And it makes teaching harder, I imagine. It makes for a lack of consistency. That's my take on it. Yep. But Arizona for public schools is ranked really low.
Okay, I see.
But I think it's an education thing, right? And so you have all these people that are having babies.
And you said there's a lot of kids, a lot of people, or a lot of kids in the state of Arizona that don't speak English well. It's a common thing.
Certain neighborhoods, right? Okay, there's certain neighborhoods you go. Right. Same thing with California. You go to certain neighborhoods. Yeah. And it's all Spanish-speaking grocery stores, all Spanish-speaking market. It's a Spanish neighborhood or Mexican neighborhood or whatever. And you know what it's like. Those people, they come over and naturally they don't want to assimilate. It's more natural for them to flock together, and
we naturally do that. I mean, as human beings, it's a tendency. It's a natural tendency to stick with your kind a bit.
100%
degrees.
It doesn't help anybody, but I'm guilty of it too. I've done a lot of traveling. That's how we met 10 years ago. Yeah. I remember when I went to Asia for the first time. I was living in China for quite a while, like 6 months. Yeah. And I can't even describe to you what it was like when I see another Westerner. Yeah. And where I was at, because it wasn't like a super common thing.
Just got excited.
Oh, you get super excited and you run up to him. If you were an introvert, you were an extrovert real quick. Yeah. And that was me, man, like trying to chat it up and make friends. Hey, you want to have coffee later? And I did that all the time because
it was a bit like that when I went to, I did a trek in Nepal to Everest Base Camp, and it was the same thing. Every once in a while you'd come across, foreign travelers, and you just kind of get all excited.
So I totally understand it when they do that. Yeah. These populations come over, whether it be Polish communities in Chicago, which are massive, Italians, and
it's a big Polish community,
the biggest in the United States.
Big one here in London. Yeah.
Chicago is the biggest in the United States, maybe the world, but it's huge.
All right.
Obviously in the Southwest of America, Mexican populations, and it's not just Mexicans; it's people coming in from like Honduras and El Salvador, those like close countries to Mexico. But regardless, I get it. But it doesn't help necessarily, right? You would hope they would learn the language and want to assimilate, but they just kind of keep to their own neighborhoods.
Mm.
And I think that probably doesn't help the education, the system. Everything gets bogged down. It's basically bringing whatever little border town they came from out, in Mexico to America. And I don't know.
Yeah.
You wish they
Yeah.
would, but I get it because I've been there. And I tell you what, man, when I went to China, I never felt, and that's why I wanted to do it, by the way. I wanted to feel what it felt like as an immigrant in our country, right? That comes not knowing the language and how they must feel. And I felt alienated. I felt isolated. I came there and I had no one to talk to and nobody could understand me. And I had to get really good with talking with my hands and being nonverbal and communicating in other ways. And man, I got real depressed. Like the first couple of months, I was really depressed. I'm like, man, I felt like a ghost. And it really made me, it put things in perspective. I'm like, man, this is what some of these people that are crossing the border, legally or illegally, are facing. They go through. It's like, man, I can only imagine.
And you feel more lonely, a bit more isolated because communication is harder because of language barriers, of
it's
course.
horrible. Yeah.
And also just not relating as well to those people.
And then
So it's going to make socializing that bit harder.
And for people that are from south of our border,
yeah,
I'm not trying to say they have it easier, but maybe they do because we have tons of people that speak Spanish, especially in like Arizona.
Yeah.
It's not hard. You come here, you're not from here, you don't know English. Like I said, we've got big communities that only speak Spanish or bilingual.
Yep.
And so they have a crutch, right? It makes them feel comfortable. Dude, I was a Westerner in China and I wasn't even in Beijing most of the time. I was in Tianjin for like 5 months, right?
Okay.
That's not, it was no English.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have like a compadre or, but I've worked with people that were illegal and they'd come here and they'd work the, kind of like the lower jobs. They'd be dishwashers in the restaurant and they'd come in, they literally have no one to talk to. And it's like, man, they don't really talk to anybody because they don't have anybody to talk to. Maybe there's one person that speaks Spanish in the restaurant or something. And it's got to be tough. I don't know. But I get it. I get why they do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. And the whole thing with Donald Trump and the wall and border control and all that stuff. I mean, what is your guys' opinion about something like the wall?
Well, I mean, to summarize, the general feeling here is, very anti the whole idea of the wall. When you break down the arguments, it doesn't seem to, a lot of the arguments kind of fall flat, I think, or seem to be emotionally motivated as opposed to factual. They're wide of the mark on a lot of things, I find. But yeah, the general consensus is it's morally wrong. It's just like it's keeping people out. It's a just reprehensible thing to do is to have, which I don't understand because if you just break it down to sort of like a micro level, you don't leave the doors to your front. You don't leave the door to your house open. You don't leave your gate open.
So what I'm going to check you on something that, well, not check you, but you said, you made a point, and this isn't what you believe necessarily, but you're saying people around here might say it. So they think morally wrong the wall is because it keeps people out. But the thing is the wall isn't supposed to keep anybody out. The laws that are already in place are supposed to keep everybody out. The thing is the wall is supposed to be for the people that are breaking the laws that are already in place, right? So there are
laws forbidding the people that are illegally crossing.
So
of course,
that's what I'm saying.
So the laws are in place. It's illegal to do what they're doing.
So why would anybody think the concept of a wall would be morally wrong? It's just kind of enforcing what is already there, right? That's really all it is.
Of course. No, of course. Of course it is.
The wall itself, coming from like a financial angle or anything, is kind of silly. When he first started describing it, it was like, all right, you're getting a little comic booky.
Aspects of it might be a little silly.
Getting a little comic booky with it. And I'm thinking, okay, I could see you putting up more reinforcement on certain stretches of the border. But at first it seemed like it was painted as this massive wall that was going to go coast to from the Gulf to the
something in Game of Thrones
from the Pacific. I'm like, that's not going to whatever. But I don't. If you kind of get past all that, and it's slimmed down since then. I don't think it's this big comic book crazy villain thing.
No, I mean I've heard a few things, but it's kind of like almost like a aluminum sort of contraption.
There's nothing wrong with it. That high. I have no problem with whatever they got to do. Maybe that's not the most feasible way. Maybe it would help. I'm sure it would help a little bit if you have more And one big thing they kept saying was like, and this would be like Mexican Americans or illegals or whatever. They would say in retaliation and anger, we're just going to find another way to get in. Like, that's not going to keep us out. We can climb or we can go around.
We can dig
tunnels.
Underneath.
And you know what? It's true.
We know the tunnels already exist, of course. Yeah.
It's so funny because Donald Trump brings out just vitriolic spew from anybody. Like you were talking about in private with me the other day. It's like Democrats have stooped to that level and they're having to, be ugly in their words. Civility
has gone out the window.
Same thing with
definitely as far as he's concerned.
You had Mexican Americans saying this stuff online. Yeah. Like we're just going to find like you're glorifying breaking in and breaking the laws of our country just to make out of spite to make a president you guys don't like, but you don't realize this is a little offensive to other people other than the president. It is. Yeah. But and it's offensive.
It's glorifying breaking the law.
It's offensive to the people that do it the right way, right? Yeah. And I've talked to many people, and like I said, there are gray areas, right? Yeah. So I've talked to many people that I've made that point. Well, what about the people that did it the right way? And they're like, but it takes so long and it's so difficult. I'm like, those are the rules, man. Life's difficult. Not everything is easy. Some things are easy and simple. Some things take time. That doesn't mean, you know what, John? It's hard to save up $1 million in the bank account in savings. It's hard, right?
Tell me about it.
Does that mean you go steal it from a bank? No, you accept that it's hard and you're either going to fail trying or you're not going to even attempt it. I don't know what else to say. I'm trying to make comparisons here, but it's the silliest thing in the world. Like if it takes forever, if it takes so much quicker to go to Canada, right? Yeah. It's just the way it is. My opinion, has always been, and you touched on it earlier, and I wonder how many people are going to hate me after this podcast because I do come off like a conservative.
It depends depends who's listening.
It doesn't matter. I'm trying to be real here, but you touched on it yourself earlier. Okay. You would not leave your front door unlocked, right? The thing is everybody by nature is an opportunist, right? So if you left your door unlocked, and let's say it was like the purge situation, you took away laws, nobody was accountable for anything for one night. Dude, you are not everybody. I'm a good person. You're a good person, but you're going to have some people that'll take advantage and be like, I'm going to break into this house. Let's say there was no guns. Let's say gun rights were removed in the US. Okay, well, look, this guy, he cannot do anything to me. He has no weapons. He will not do anything to me. I can go in there. His doors are unlocked. I can steal everything he has. And I'm going to get away scot-free. Or, worse, maybe somebody heinous. I'm going to rape his daughter. I'm going to get away scot-free. Yeah. There will be some sick freaks that will do it. Yeah. Even if it's 1 in a million.
Somebody at some point is going to come into your house. If you leave your door open, I could leave my gate open. I could leave my front door open. There's going to be a lot of good people walking by who are going to respect it. They're not going to come in. There's risks involved with coming in. At some point, if you leave your door open, somebody's going to come in and do something. Someone's going to come in and chance it and steal something.
I don't care if it's
a precaution.
I don't care if it's one.
And it's your right. It's your right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to protect your stuff.
So how is the country any different? That's what I'm saying. I don't care if it's 1 out of a trillion
people.
In
one way, it's not different. I can't see how on a simple level. I know the argument gets a little bit more complex for certain reasons, and I'm sure we're going to touch on some of those. But essentially, I think a big part of this argument should not differentiate. It's your border. The border is to your home. It's like the gate to your garden. You have a right, and you should keep a fence there. So somebody wants to come in, they can knock on your gate, they can ring your doorbell, and then you can choose to let them in. If they don't do that, just having it wide open just opens it up for somebody with bad intentions is going to come in at some point. So you have that choice. It gives you control. You can let somebody in if you choose to. They can ring your doorbell.
I like the
And it should be the same thing at the border. You have border control. They can assess who's there. They can assess who's coming in and decide. Gives you control. You want to have some control and power for who's coming into your country.
And we can't help that it's a long line and it's a long list of things you got to do. We can't help that there's a lot of people that want to come, right? That's what's hurting it, right? I can't. They're trying to make.
This is where the argument gets a little bit more muddied,
because
the
look,
moral aspect,
is it a
quote unquote, becomes more, you could say, a bit more complex.
Is it America's fault, or is it the fact that you're coming from a country you think is really shitty, right? And there's such a demand to get over here. It's not our fault that we can't quite keep up with it. We have a system, right? If we were a different country where the demand was less, it might be a speedier process. I don't know, but you just kind of have to accept it. And on one side, like I said, I get that people want the best for their kids. I understand that there are people that come over that do abuse the system. They are illegal, but they have the best intentions in mind because they just want to do what's right for their family.
Yeah.
There are
They're just trying to find a better life.
Sure.
Yeah,
and you know what? Like if you were a parent, you would do anything for your kids. You would steal
That's a
bread.
Good point. That's a really good point to make. Yeah.
You would steal bread from a market to feed your child if he was hungry. So I get it. There's a lot of people that are doing that. They're coming in illegally. They're not paying taxes. They're taking advantage of our tax-paying dollars, living off us, and then sending over their money across the border where they're living more or less like kings because of the conversion rate, right? They are taking full advantage off taxpayers. That's wrong. But in their mind, they're like, but I'm benefiting and my kids are benefiting. So I get it. So here's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
I think we're more than fair on the current process. Like usually it was, you get caught, they send you back, slap on the wrist, right? But if they catch you coming back a second time after they send you back after that warning shot, then you're in trouble. I think that's always been pretty fair, right? So my opinion is,
I wasn't actually aware of that. That's an interesting thing. I wasn't sure about sort of like a second chance, like a two-strike thing.
Now, I don't know how it's changed since Donald Trump entered office. I really don't. So I don't want to speak out of school.
Maybe it's like a one.
Maybe
you
it's
don't
a
have
little
that
harder.
second. Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is they're still, even with Donald Trump in office, they're not going after people that are illegal. They're going, the people that they're calling ICE on and going after are the people that are breaking the laws, right? They're not stupid. They know the people that are keeping their nose clean that are undocumented, right? There's still dollars and tax money and stuff that they're not worrying about those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I said, on one side, I get it. I get why they're doing it. That's why if I was in charge, if I was on the border or if I was an ICE agent or something like that, and I caught you, I'd be like, look, it's like a child that tries to sneak a cookie before dinner.
Yeah.
I get why you want the cookie. It's sweet. It tastes good. But I'm still your parent, and I'm telling you, no, that's not good to spoil your dinner, and I'm going to turn you away from the cookie. I get it. I get why you wanted the sweets. It tastes good. But I still have to police it and be like, no, that's not what's best for you or us, right?
Right.
That's all it is. So I don't dog you necessarily for trying it, but don't get mad at us when we catch you and be like, no, good try, bye, Don't get mad at us either. But some people do. They act like it's unfair. I'm like, no, it's not an unfair system.
Yeah, I can understand that argument, the main argument, and it's and people always they put it this way here is as you said, if it was you in that situation, if you were struggling to feed your family, if you were in a place that was maybe in a violent situation where your family was exposed to levels of violence, or maybe just financially just struggling so much that you couldn't feed or clothe your kids enough, I'll tell you right now, I would break the law to get a better life for my family.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. I understand.
I would understand. I would sit here and lie or be a hypocrite and say, oh, I would be better than that. I would let my children go hungry because I don't want to break the law. 100%. I would break the law. 100%. I'm not killing anybody. Well, of course, I'm crossing a border.
That's what's worse. But no, 100%. And that's exactly why.
It's not so evil. There are worse crimes you can commit.
That's exactly why I say I totally get it.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm like, hey, I get it why you want that cookie. It's sweet. But like I said, there's also laws and there's rules. And I would hope to God I wouldn't be upset that I got caught. Like, you know the consequences if you get caught, right? So it's like a game.
Is the way of helping people that are struggling, people that that are looking for a better way of life, people that are trying to improve the life for them and their families, is the solution to kind of like, we'll wink, kind of wink. We'll turn and look the other way a little bit, just so we can help people out more. I'm not so sure that's the right. We'll let people break the law because it's going to help struggling people out. There must be a better way to help those people. Are all these people that are complaining about it, are they going and running programs? Are they trying to improve people's lives? Are they going and volunteering in Mexico or whatever other countries to improve people's lives? Like that would be one good thing. That's something I would personally do if I felt that strongly about helping people improve their condition. Why are we not volunteering and going over there?
I mean, what's funny is
there's got to be a better way, is what I'm saying. Than like looking the other way and letting people break the law.
Illegal immigration is a huge part of Mexican economy, which is bad too, right? Because they come over here, work, and they send our money undocumented, illegal, untaxed
Yeah.
to Mexico for their families, and it pumps into their economy. That's when Donald Trump was trying to do his power play at the beginning of the election of, Mexico's going to pay for it, and the president got all upset. He got the president to cuss. That fucking guy.
Yeah.
He brings everybody to that level to actually say things worse than what he says, right?
Yeah.
You're making a point of that. Like, Donald Trump never calls anybody stupid mother, but he brings these people to that point where they say it to him. He's actually a professional troll. He's really good at ruffling feathers, I guess. But no, and he said, you know what? His power play, look, how are you going to make Mexico pay for it? He's like, well, I'm going to shut off money transfers. I'm going to shut off wire transfers and money orders to Mexico. I'm going to completely shut them down.
God, and then means business, huh?
Oh, and you know what, dude? That enraged the president of Mexico, right? Because it's true. It's like, dude, you know how much money you have coming over that's all based off illegal and it's taking advantage of our system. It's pumping into your economy. I'm going to cut them all off. No wire transfers to Mexico. No money transfers. You know,
what I'm interested in, a question I have actually, and maybe you know the answer, is how bad is the situation? Because a lot is made of people trying to improve their lives. You know, are we talking like a Syria level poverty, violence? Are people on starvation, or is it that they're struggling?
People got mad because Donald Trump made generalizing comments. I think everything Donald Trump said was true, but he made them in a generalized way, which was not true, right? Okay. So he was making true statements, if you can speak Donald Trump. So when he says, look, when they're coming across the border, we're getting the rapists, we're getting the murderers. The way he words it, it sounds like he's saying they're all rapists and murderers. Now, that is the way it comes off when he says it, but I'm not an idiot. I know for a fact he doesn't mean that. I'd be a moron to think he really was insinuating that everybody coming up. No, he's making a broad statement, which is probably bad on his part, but I know he doesn't mean that. You know, people like to take.
It's so easy though to frame it.
People like to take, to frame.
You can willfully misrepresent what he's saying, of course, because you're against him.
It's like you have to be an idiot to think.
And I certainly think he doesn't come across well a lot. You know, I definitely don't. I think he doesn't communicate. He's not a good communicator. I don't think he puts things in a wise way.
He's a great communicator to his audience. Let me tell you, he's Garth Brooks at his rallies. Well, that's
no nonsense. Just says it as it is.
That's my biggest pet peeve with Donald Trump. And I'll say it right now. I don't hate Donald Trump. Honestly, I think he's got just as many, if not more, qualities about him than detractors. You know, I'm trying to look at what's really important, right? Okay. Now, at the end of the day,
the good outweighs the bad. Okay.
I think so. Well, the thing is ideally, I wish we had somebody in office that was everything. He had a thick spine, strong backbone, but he was a God-fearing man, and he was also very compassionate, diplomatic, and all these things, loving. He was everything. Yeah. But you're never going to have that perfect guy. You know, Barack Obama, in my opinion, he was super charming. He was charismatic, classy, great speaker. But that just sort of just avoids. That just it becomes a smoke and mirror thing, because people love him because he's classy on the outside. He's charming. He makes a Jay-Z reference, winks at him in the crowd. Oh, I'm hip. I'm cool. And he does the State of the Union address. He tells everybody, hey, everything's great. Cracks that joke. Oh, he's so great. But nobody's really paying attention of the politics that are going on behind the scenes and the things that were happening on his watch, right? Yeah. I think people are they're looking at things askewed. Now, it's great. I wish he had that as well. I wish Donald Trump had that demeanor, that tact. But you know what? I kind of like the guy's backbone. And you know what? Even though he's loose-lipped and people say he's an idiot, I don't think he's quite as reckless as people. I think he's smarter than people give credit for. He knows what he's doing. He's kind of like a big kid that knows what he's like. A kid knows when he's instigating. A kid knows when he's getting a rise out of his parents.
Basically, what you're saying is that he's a pro-level troll. But he's self-aware. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, I think he's very self-aware.
Playing on it.
Well, I think he does get off on the fact.
Sometimes it doesn't come across that way.
I think he gets off on the fact that he thinks and knows he's bulletproof, because up to this point, he sure is. Nothing takes this guy down. And I think he gets off on it, right? Okay. I think it is a little bit of a power trip for him. But I do genuinely think he loves the country.
Because I remember there was one interview where he said something to there was a girl, I think it was on immigration or on illegal immigrants and ICE and whatever. And he said, oh, don't be such a baby. Stop being such a baby. You know, he just shut her down like that. You know, it's just like such a blunt way of...
I don't think Donald Trump obviously can relate to every type of person. I think since he's been in office, of course, I bet you he's learned a lot. You know, campaigning for president. And now he's reached out to this demographic who probably gave two shits about him before, right? You know, because he was the elite billionaire playboy in New York. Isn't it weird? Now his fan base is Bible Belt. What? Yeah. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Crazy. But I guarantee you, he has to have learned a lot and learned about America during the whole process and learned about people that he probably never gave, two thoughts about. Because can he relate to the middle man? Can he relate to middle class? Can he relate
He's
to
had
the
a silver spoon in his mouth all his life. He's had
100%
since he was born.
But that doesn't necessarily make somebody a bad person inherently. No, it doesn't, right?
No.
As long as you're wise and you know the way of the world and you know how people live and you can just relate to people. But I'm not blaming anybody for being born with a silver spoon in their mouth, right? It doesn't make you more or less a bad person. It's just you had the same odds as I.
Something you take into account, but it doesn't. You judge them by their actions at the same.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think
still do good.
I think Donald Trump probably for a huge portion of his life was pretty out of touch, right? I mean, and I can't blame him. I can't blame him. I mean, he's running a whole business. I'm sure he works with people. When he's having these board meetings and stuff, he's not even talking to the people that are vacuuming the floors.
No.
And I don't know.
Delegating to executives and a bunch of different people.
And I'm sure I've heard accounts that he had going to his hotels. He has run-ins and he was really friendly. But he really doesn't really know him. He's just being nice. And I don't know. But I'm saying I'd have to believe that during all of this last 4 years or whatever it's been, it has to have changed him even more with the actual campaigning. I'm sure maybe he didn't realize he was going to win. Maybe it's become something he didn't quite bargain for, but I think he's going for it. He's really trying to do a good job, even if it's for ego purposes. This guy doesn't want his hotels and his businesses to fail. And I know people make jokes. Oh, he's had some failed businesses. The guy's had 1 million successful businesses too. Like people are slamming him.
I hear that thrown at him a lot.
Because he's had 4 or 5.
Trump University failed. Trump vodka failed. Or whatever.
Don't quote me on the numbers. He's had 4, 5, or 6 tank. But the guy's had how many that were successful? I mean, to me, that's not even a fair. That's not a fair jab.
Okay.
But I'm saying this guy has his name on his hotels or whatever it is he's pitching. And he wants those to be successful because his name's on it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm on the line. He wants his presidency to go well. Yeah. And I don't think he thinks he's going to please everybody, but what can he do? Yeah. He can keep his campaign promises to the people that voted for him, right? I genuinely think, even if it's for his own ego, he's trying to do a good job. And I think he loves the country. I just think he's older. And I know people say, it's such a crutch to say an older guy. Look, kind of, but the thing is it's true. It doesn't make it any less true. You have older generation people. Donald Trump is the oldest sitting president ever. He's old. He's in his 70s.
He's in his 70s.
He's the oldest.
That's interesting. He's the oldest sitting president. Oldest
elected president ever. We came off the youngest. We went from Barack Obama, the youngest, to the oldest ever. Isn't that weird? But anyway, Donald Trump is in his 70s. He's the age of my grandpa.
Funny enough, he can come across as being the most childish. But that's not like that.
Isn't it funny? The oldest of them all, and he's like my grandpa.
The most sort of belligerent and belligerent child of them all.
He's the one that's the most versed in Twitter. Right? When our grandparents can't work Twitter and mobile phones, he's all about it. Yeah. But you know what the thing is on the side note on the Twitter thing, people call him a baby. The thing is Twitter came out during the Barack Obama presidency.
Okay.
So when it came out in the middle of his presidency, that means Donald Trump is the first official Twitter era president, right? I don't think he's doing anything unprofessional weird. It's just part of the wave. If Twitter was around in Abe Lincoln's days, Abe Lincoln would have been using it because it's a huge platform to get a message out quickly to everybody, right? It does make it easier, right? Back when you just had to do State of the Union address, everything was scheduled. You had a speechwriter. It went through a lot more channels to ensure what you were going to say was calculated. But it's not.
Well, the thing with Twitter is, obviously Twitter can be a blessing or a curse. And, 2 good examples. Another example besides Trump is Elon Musk, somebody who tweets all the time, because in one way you're getting this connection to the top man, which is so interesting. But at the same time, it's so easy to fuck up. Yeah. It's so easy to run your mouth or say something that's off or provocative or something that's just off.
It's not just Trump. It's everybody. Everybody gets in trouble when they have any kind of an audience, right? Yeah. If they have any sort of an audience, eventually something comes back to bite them.
You're going to say something that
it's just inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Twitter,
something unwise.
Twitter is the equivalent of what it was like to just talk with your buddies in private and you slip something bad or something you regret. And maybe, like I said, you have remorse immediately after saying I shouldn't have said that. I'm not here to judge people because I like to assume there's plenty of people even on Twitter that people say, well, it's on Twitter, it's calculated. Not necessarily, man. People type away almost like they're thinking on Twitter. It's almost like a reaction thing, just like if you were coming right out of your mouth from your brain to your mouth. Yeah. And to me, it's no different than that. But now you have You're not in your bedroom with your buddies.
Yep.
You're talking to your millions of followers, and you can't just take it back to everybody. If you said something that came, a lot of times things come off the wrong way, right?
Yep.
I've been guilty of saying things that just came off the wrong. I'm like, that came off bad. And I've straight up said it. And my close friends might be like, yeah, I know what you meant. But it's like, you're glad you weren't in like an auditorium full of people, because I don't know everybody closely.
Yeah.
So that's what Twitter is, man. And you have everybody that wants to see everybody fall and crumble, right?
Yeah.
People have this fascination with seeing successful people just crumble. I think it empowers regular, quote unquote, regular people.
I believe that as well.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it empowers regular, quote unquote, air quote, people, that it empowers them to know, I can destroy this elitist career, this elite person, this Hollywood. That is scary to me. Yeah. I'm not saying some people don't deserve it. Obviously, you have the R. Kelly bullshit. There's people that deserve to be on trial.
It's something that's said a lot in this country. It's said a lot specifically about the UK, how they'll always say this, we love to tear down our celebrities. We like to big them up, and then we like to tear them down. And that's almost called like one of the national pastimes.
I think it's a
common thing, and I think that just goes all over the globe.
Oh, it's like the guy. It's James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah, I'm aware.
He was one redneck troll took him down. One just redneck troll, just some guy that maybe makes $15 an hour washing dishes. $15,000 a year washing dishes at a Denny's.
He lost a multi-million-dollar contract.
This guy that normally in his everyday life can't even backtalk his boss at a Denny's was able to destroy a man's career with Disney, cost him millions of dollars, and shatter a whole.
And on the other side of the coin, you had like a Twitter mob that got Mark Wahlberg off Ocean's 11 or off various projects. It happens all the time.
What a high that must be for those people.
Liam Neeson, obviously, with the whole everything that erupted with that. Eruption.
I want to move on to that. Actually, it's like, that's funny you bring that up.
Yeah, he literally. I mean, they canceled the premiere. He canceled all sorts of things. It has a real effect. There's two arguments. One thing I'll just say. Yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say I want to get into Liam Neeson because that's a nice segue, and I have an opinion about that as well. Yeah. But because I didn't wrap it up officially earlier about the whole immigration thing, because we were getting off on Donald Trump and all that stuff, wrapping up. Sure. Bottom line, my opinion with the crossing the border is, bottom line, there's a reason why we have to control it, right? And we were talking about it. We were speaking about opportunists, right? In your front door, you leave your front door unlocked. There will be an opportunist, even if it's 1 out of a trillion people. There will be somebody that takes advantage of no repercussions. So think about it. If we completely opened the borders, right? We said, okay, you know what? We're just no border control, no homeland security. No one's watching the skies. You would have certain radical terrorists invading, You would have certain people flying in. Even if it's just a few people out of a lot, right? I'm not saying, but all it takes is a few bad people. You would have, or even less extreme, like not even terrorism and stuff. You would have everybody that wanted to come over from Mexico taking advantage. Everybody would come in. Yeah. And what would they do? This tree of life, this tree of prosperity in America, they would all pick at the fruit, and nobody would pay taxes. Nobody would pay in. Everybody would take advantage of tax-free money and bringing it back home. And they would pick that tree of prosperity until it was dead. They would not leave any. So we have to shut it down so that tree can prosper, right? Yeah. So it can still live for the future generations. So your kids might have an opportunity, because I don't think, when this country was founded, however many years ago, I don't think the forefathers really anticipated when they said, give us your meek, give us your, at the time they wanted to grow. Yeah. They were dealing with people that were escaping, persecution, religious persecution in England. They wanted to grow in this whole thing. They weren't thinking that in just a couple hundred years, we were going to be 350 million strong. And it would be as big as it was. Because at the time, it's like, give us your meat, give us your poor. But there was a time, it's like, okay, well, now I'm sorry. Something was said a few hundred years ago, but we kind of have to reevaluate. It's like we are to capacity now. Yeah. Like we have to gauge it a little bit. Yeah. And
should you match the immigration levels of like when Irish were coming over and, the mass immigration exodus to the United States? Should that just carry on the same way?
People say
situations change.
People say the thing like the wall, they say that it goes against everything America was founded on. Like, look, but you have to admit, I'm saying we have to. No one is saying you can't. We have a system. We're just saying you can't come over illegally. And too many people, one bad apple spoils the bunch, right? right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're in school or you're in
Yeah.
your family, right?
Yeah.
Your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Your dad is kind of lenient with the rules, right? He's
Yeah.
like, look, I'm gonna let you guys stay out till 10 until because you guys are responsible enough until your brother gets caught having sex and drinking underage. Well, he ruined the party for everybody because your brother did this. Everybody's home by 8, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He still loves you. You can still go out, but until you earn that trust again, you go through a system. We just have to monitor it.
Yeah.
I just don't know why that's so hard.
Yeah, and also the way I see it is why, what sort of controls do you believe there should be? Because obviously there are controls at the moment. There are border patrols. There are, So do you think that there should be no border control whatsoever? Do you think it should just be an open border?
Absolutely
This
not.
is what I'm asking the people that have such an issue with it. And if they say, well, no, I think we should have. They probably say, I think we should have exactly the levels that we have at the moment. So it's just like an argument of how much control you have. And so you're balking at having more controls because you basically think there should be an influx of people. And you think that influx should include what it includes now, which is criminals, good people, struggling people, nice people that just want to contribute, and a lot of illegal immigrants.
If we let everybody in,
Yeah.
in about 20 years, America will be Mexico. We're going to collapse the economy. If everybody came in and started picking at that tree, we would just be destroyed. Like, why does that make sense?
And it's important to note that it's not that you're blocked. You're not blocked from coming in. You can apply for asylum. So, the quote, you're hungry, give us your hungry, you're tired, your masses, you're starving masses, and we will take them in. You can still apply at the border for asylum. Yeah. And there's a process you have to go through, and you can apply. You can say, I'm escaping violence, coming from Guatemala, or I'm coming from Mexico, whatever. That exists. But these people want, people that oppose the wall They want the easy way. They want the easiest possible way. They want the illegal way. They want the illegal way. And I'm just trying to understand the morality because they claim, of course, it's the moral thing. We care about people. So we're going to let them break, if I understand their position, we're going to let them break the law because it's the moral thing to do, because we're going to be helping struggling people out by allowing them. I just don't understand the logic. Understand to break the law. And if it's so moral, what about in that bunch of people, maybe 70, maybe 80% of a percentage of people that are legally coming over are good people. They may be doing illegal things, but they're not going to harm and hurt people.
Correct.
Even if there were just 20%, what about the effect that's going to have on people? Is that moral? Exactly. If I wanted to help everyone, so I let my front door open so that hungry people could come in, help themselves to stuff in my kitchen, use my bathroom. That's very nice. And there were lots of good people that really needed the help. They wanted to use the bathroom. Their baby's crying. They need to change the nappy. That's all great. What about with my wife and kids? And there's one bad person that goes in there. What about the effect on them? What if it's just 2 out of every 100 people, as you said before, come in, but just those 2 people harm my wife, my kid, my pets, or my neighbors, right? Now, how moral is that for the people? It's like whose rights are more important? The people that are there, or the rights of people like that? Whose rights are more important? I don't understand where the morality, how moral that position is.
The charity always
that away?
Starts at home, right? I mean, you have to. Your family is most important.
It's a conscious personal choice.
Look, and it goes
That's
down the ladder.
That's what charity is. I choose to go and help X, Y, and Z.
Look, your priorities, your family, your direct family. And then, you know what? Obviously, we're talking about the home thing. You wouldn't leave your door unlocked. So your priority is your family. But past your family, then your priority is your neighborhood watch. You're protecting each other, your little community. Then when you keep going, keep going down the ladder, eventually, well, now we're down to the country, right? Yep. This country is our home. Yep. It's no different. Now, most people, like you said, even if there's a ton of people coming over legally, they're not inherently bad people. They're trying to just make a better life, even if they're breaking some rules in the process, but they don't want to hurt anybody. But you know what? Even like I said, even if it was 1 out of a trillion, we still have the sex trade, which is terrible, right? Yep. People smuggling guns, smuggling drugs. These are people that are opportunists that are going to do it.
We have sex trafficking, drug trafficking.
Arizona is like the number 1 sex trafficking. Serious? Yes, Arizona. Wow. They come through El Paso. No, so they come up through Arizona. Yeah. Obviously they'll go through Texas, but they'll come through the border of Arizona. Yeah. Number 1, Phoenix, huge. Did not know that. It is massive.
It's a horrible, horrible thing. It's seriously bad.
And you know what? You know what? Look,
Really, it's a serious problem.
I don't care. It's just like the whole extreme vetting, air
Yeah.
quotes, right? I don't care if 1,000 of those quote unquote refugees coming over are great. If there's one person out of 1,000 that wants to come over and do some harm to somebody that we don't know a lot about,
Yeah.
it's worth it to vet everybody.
If one person out of those 1,000 people, good people, is a rapist and rapes a young child,
Our family,
is that acceptable? Is that acceptable because you helped 1,000 people with more
because once again,
privilege?
John, no,
You helped 1,000 struggling people, good people, but one person got raped. Is that acceptable?
Because
is that an acceptable trade-off? I don't know.
Because your brother stayed out late and drank underage, you have to look, because our family comes first. And in this case, vetting people, our country is our family, right?
Yep.
So it's like, look, there's 1,000 of you. I'm sure you might all be good, but there's a chance if there's one, it's not worth it because one person can do a lot of damage, even if that one person just hurts one person, right? But we've learned.
And of course, to specify, it's not that you're saying no to the whole 1,000. You're saying, but we got to be vetted. You got to follow procedure.
And I would hope, I get it, these people are trying to get away from certain things, but I would hope they would just understand. I know I'm not on that side of the fence per se, but I would hope
fully understand.
I would hope I would just like I'll never be able to carry a baby. That's why I can't speak too much on abortion. It's one of those things, right? But I just would hope. I would hope that I could understand why there is a problem. But the thing is I get it. Maybe it's because I'm an American. But when I go out to other countries, when in Rome, right? When I was in China, I didn't talk about certain things that were not cool to be talked about or spoken about. In Russia, man, did I get a lot of cold glares from the people that were my grandparents' age, Cold War, people.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
The young people love me. Young people, they're all Russia, by the way. In my experience, was the least patriotic place I've ever been to in my life. I've never been to a country where at least the younger people, they all wanted to come to America. They all hated Russia.
They hate socialism.
They just wanted to come to America. Dude, I went to a flat and I got to stay at this flat with these college kids for a little while there. And this was common. I went to these people's apartments and they had like posters of Venice Beach, bikinis and because they all think America's California because they watch movies, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And don't even get me started on that. That's what media represents America in a weird light, even stuff like that. But but I get it. I'm in America, man. I'll tell you right now, I love to travel. I love being here in London. I love being wherever. But America's number one for me, and it always will be. It's my home. I get it, and it's
understandable. It's where you're from,
and it's a wonderful country. Even when, oh my God, quote unquote, things are horribly in the shitter. I'm doing the jerk off motion right now because I think it's BS. Because even with quote unquote a Donald Trump type of guy in the House, dude, America still rules. You guys are whoever thinks it's going down the shitter. Is fooling themselves.
Well, this brings up an interesting question. You're touching on something interesting here because this is a big sort of sub discussion of the greater discussion is it acceptable to be patriotic? Is it acceptable to be kind of nationalistic? This is the big discussion of our times is nationalism or populism versus globalism.
You do not.
Is it acceptable? Because the way it's being portrayed by a lot of the media, by the liberal side, by the left, is that any nationalism, a little bit too much patriotism, anything more than supporting your team in the World Cup, you're starting to get labeled xenophobic as a bit racist. If you're just that bit too much patriotic, that's how they see it over here. It's fashionable if you're liberal over here. It's fashionable I couldn't ever be patriotic and support my country in that way because of our colonial past. So it brings up a really interesting discussion. Based on America's engaged in in foreign wars and probably done some bad things while they've tried to do some good in policing the world. Is it acceptable? Mm-hmm. Is it acceptable to care to be patriotic and to be nationalistic? It's a really interesting discussion.
I think there is a very, very big difference between liking who the sitting president is and supporting your country, right? So these people, if Donald Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. What a pussy. Get out of here, you ungrateful ingrate. Seriously. Like, just look, presidents come and go. We're a democracy. He'll be gone in 48 years. We'll have another person. And it tends to flip-flop, right? Republican, Democrat. It's kind of a balance going on. Like I said, Obama and Trump are as bad as polar opposite as it can get.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Traditionally, the sitting president does get elected for a second term. Not getting too much into it. I think Donald Trump will take it again. Okay. I really do. But when he's done, we're
Yeah.
probably going to have someone drastically different in there again.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to love America if I'm not for that president. I personally did not like Barack Obama and his politics at all. At all. But I still love my country. I still love my country and I wouldn't leave. And no, I didn't fixate on it. I wasn't like waking up in cold sweats.
For you, it's still the best place in the world. It's
Absolutely.
still, you still believe in American values.
I wasn't waking up in cold sweats every day that Barack was in office. Like, oh, no, I went about life and I still loved America.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people that do that. There was a lot of extreme rights where they were like, oh, it's all thanks Obama. I was never like that, but there are a lot of people who are like that.
Of course,
people on both sides.
I heard a lot. There was a lot of
people on both sides need to fucking take a chill pill, right? Like you vote, you listen to
people on the far extremes need to come in towards the center.
Extreme, that's exactly what we need. But look,
we need more moderation. But
these people. It's so stupid.
Everyone's swung so people are drifting in some ways so far to extremes.
We have a system, man. You vote, use your voice, use the privilege that we have in this country. And if it goes your way, great. If it doesn't, okay, better luck next time. Mm-hmm. Then start doing your politics locally. Start using your voice locally. Help. I think in a perfect world, someone like Barack Obama goes into office. You didn't vote for Barack Obama. You do your best on your level to support your president as your country as much as you can, with it being supporting your country. You don't want your president to fail, because then your country's failing.
So what you're saying is generally you would advocate, like, even if the president you absolutely did not want in office, you should still kind of support them. You should still support them.
At least as far as it affects your country.
At least as it affects the country. You want them to do, okay, fair enough. Say if Hillary had been elected, and you might not have been happy about that, but you still want America to do good. You still want to kind of support and say, well, it's not what I would have wanted, but I wish the best for the country. Let's get behind,
you have
this person in some way.
You have to eat a little bit of humble pie, and you can't wish for somebody you didn't want in office to fail just to make a point, to prove yourself right. No, you should swallow your pride. And hope that they prove you wrong and they do good things, right? Yeah. That's what I would hope you would want.
Then I could throw a question at you, saying the election in 2020 doesn't go the way you think, and I'm with you. I think that Trump takes it again. I really do think that. But I know that there's a hell of a lot of support being thrown behind Bernie Sanders, and I think it's going to be an interesting fight. Though I do think Trump will take it. But do you think if Bernie Sanders somehow were to win the election in 2020, what would you say to people? What would you personally feel? What would you say to maybe fellow conservatives?
I think that Bernie Sanders is not nearly as sensitive a topic as Hillary Clinton, right? And I think almost anybody would agree with that.
Because you could say he's okay.
Yeah.
She has a very problematic past.
She does. And
I think on
a ledger full of red ink, right? So
there's a motherload of bad
Bernie Sanders
past history there.
I never hated Bernie Sanders. I didn't. And even when this thing was going on with the last election, I was pretty content if Bernie went.
So you're saying that if you could choose between the two of them, if
Hillary,
you had to have the
Hillary or Bernie?
Yeah.
Bernie.
I know 100%. I would have voted for Bernie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're saying if it came down to Bernie and Trump, I still would have voted for Trump.
Yeah, no, that I'm sure. Yeah,
but
that doesn't surprise me.
But I thought,
but if it had to be if you had a choice between Bernie and Hillary,
Bernie.
Okay,
but see, the thing is if Bernie would have went the distance,
that's very interesting. That's interesting because you know that he's far more socialist in a lot of ways than Hillary would be.
For sure,
you could say she's kind of center left corporatist more than.
You know what though?
Progressive, because progressive is what the Democrat Party has become. Super progressive.
I would be much more willing to give that old ass hippie a fair shot over somebody that's already had plenty of opportunity to show some promise, and she just continuously fucked up.
Okay,
and she's got too much, like I said, red in her ledger. Bernie Sanders, I think he was genuine enough. Yeah. He was genuine to his ideologies and to what he was trying to deliver.
Yeah.
I just think it was all pie in the sky. I don't think any of it was attainable. Like you said, socialistic tendencies. I didn't think it was.
Some of his economic policies
doesn't work for our country. It might work for some other places.
Well, it works, say, like in where I'm from, in Denmark, for instance.
Does not.
It's a far smaller country. Some of these sort of social democratic policies have done quite well
You
in some
can't
ways.
you can't automatically take away the guns of this nation of people that have had gun rights for a few hundred years.
No.
You know, it's easy in Australia where they have no guns. It's so easy to
Yeah.
keep that stuff in check when they were doing that from the get-go. You
Yeah.
can't healthcare. I'm sorry, it's such a touchy subject, man. But look, you can't just radically pull the rug on the way healthcare has been handled. I'm not saying I hate big
Such
pharma.
a massive
I hate
place with such a huge population.
I hate how much power the banks have. I hate how much power big pharma has. I hate it.
Yeah.
I want it to be different, but to pull the rug and try and say, hey, we're going to do this,
Yeah.
something drastic like that, and you're really gonna devastate some things. Like it's very sensitive.
Yeah.
It's like a guy walking around with shrapnel in him. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? This guy can live with that shrapnel in him, or we can pull it out and it might kill him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
it hurts like hell, him living with the shrapnel inside of him, right? It's
Yeah.
like, but if we yank it out, man, he's going to be fucking flatlined.
Yeah.
We got to figure out another way to operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think it's easier said than done. And Bernie Sanders was easier said than done. It sounded great on paper. Oh, everything's free. Education should be free. I mean, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But where is it coming from?
That's that's of course a lot of these things would be great if they could be paid for. You'd be behind them. I mean,
Oh,
who
sure.
wouldn't want if it could be paid for?
But he sounds like a child to me. You know, Donald Trump sounds like a child. He sounded like a child too to me because it legit.
So, okay.
He's a politician. You're
Yeah.
supposed to figure out how we get from A to B. Don't just give us the B, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it reminds me of when I was a kid. When we were in elementary school, they used to give us projects, right? Okay, who would you kids vote for president? What a dumb thing to ask children anyway, right? Because naturally, you're just going to sit there and say whoever it is your mom or dad are voting for because you go home and you watch your grandparents or whatever
Mhm.
supporting Bush or supporting whoever, you know?
Yeah.
So our opinions were really nothing. I don't know why they even did this,
Yeah.
but they had another thing where they asked, okay, campaign promises. I remember being like in the 4th grade and they're like, okay, so if do campaign promises, if you were president, what would you do? Try and get your class to vote for you. And this is why Bernie Sanders reminds me of a kid because it's just so innocent. I remember this little portly fat kid going up to the class, sweet and innocent as can be. He goes up and he says with his weird lisp, if I was president, I would make everything free. And of course, all the kids loved it, right?
Yeah.
It's not that kid's fault. He wants ice cream for free. All the toys are free. All you kids want, video games free. You want unlimited quarters for the arcade free. Those kids don't know any better because it sounded great to the kids. Guess what? That little motherfucking porker won. Everybody voted for that kid, right? But that's what it sounds like to me. This old man saying, free ice cream for all.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, great. Who's paying for it? You know, you're going to put those guys that make the ice cream, those guys that have to go to other countries to extract certain flavors to
Yep.
get them into their ice cream. There's so many different facets to how these operations work.
Yeah.
It was just pie in the sky. None of it added up. His numbers didn't add up. Nothing added up. As much as I would love it. I mean, if this guy was like a genie and he could snap his fingers if you elected him and make it all possible somehow, great. Let's give it a shot. Maybe not. But we already know that's what Trump's platform is going to be on this next one. It's been.
What is that? How would you lay that out?
It's been written for him. You said the word earlier. So obviously, first time around, make it. Well, it's going to be keep America great, right? That's going to be a slogan,
Yeah.
right? Make America great again was a slogan the first time around.
Yeah.
But his whole mantra was drain the swamp.
Yeah.
Drain the swamp of crooked politicians.
Yeah.
We already know what his mantra on this one's going to be. America has never and will never be socialist, right? Because I've already been watching some of his rallies. He's already been starting the rallies.
Oh, has he?
He's never stopped.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I've never seen a guy that still kept working like he does. He still does. He still fills the arenas ever since he's been elected and still touches base with the people. He still does. And he loves it. He loves talking with his people. Trust me. But it's already gaining thing. That's his whole thing, right? He's ending them all. He's getting people riled up. Like, we will never be socialist. Everybody's finishing his sentences for him. I already know it's going to be. And that's strong. That is strong of him. Like they're teeing the ball up for him right now with all this socialistic talk with your AOCs, you know, these crazy ass young millennial people trying to throw in green deals and these crazy things. Okay. He's teeing it up for the older demographic, right?
Yeah.
And they all see what's going on. So like I said, they're just teeing the ball up for him. Like, look, they're presenting something that we're all perceiving to be socialist in nature. And so are the American people. I'm going after it. America will never be socialist, especially under my watch.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sorry, that's going to drive him home. Because the thing is about Donald Trump is his fan base, his supporter base, it hasn't wavered. You know what? Even if he's lost a couple here and there, I bet you he's really only gained any. But it's certainly that 50% of the country is still there. They are loyal to the core, man. That you don't see it on TV. You don't see it in the news, right? News.
Even if they don't come out and say it, to keep it to yourself. But
well, celebrities,
because of how unpopular he is.
The news media, celebrities, and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to sound like the guy that wears the tinfoil hat, some conspiracy theorist. That is true, man. Love or hate Donald Trump, the quote unquote fake news. I'm not saying he's not biased and Fox News isn't fake news, because it is. Fox News is biased just like CNN is. Of
course,
it's all bad.
Yeah.
But fake news is a thing. And it's been, now we live in social media era where people are getting their news flyby, right? They're not even reading articles. Before they read the articles, they've shared a clickbaity headline that smears somebody, and it's gone out to 1 million people, and it keeps getting spread around. And by the time somebody does debunk it as fake, it doesn't matter, because it's already spread around to 1 million people that have created the telephone game.
It's already put that thought in your head.
And you've had 1 million people talking and claim it to be fact, and it just does the damage. Because in my opinion, you know what? Donald Trump is who he is. We always knew he was. He was never not being transparent. He was a billion-dollar playboy. Yeah. There's 1 million interviews he's done on Howard Stern where he's talking about laying chicks and him being a playboy. He was never. Oh, really? Actually, he was never a crass. The thing is, he
listened to some of those.
Oh, look, we know who he is. The thing is he never came off.
There's like a 5 or 6 part Netflix documentary which sort of shows you. It's very interesting to watch. Shows you him as sort of his evolution from like a young guy as he sort of is inheriting more and more of his father's business, and how he builds up the business.
If you watch old YouTube clips when he goes on like the Howard Stern show and these things like that,
I'm going to check that out afterwards. Actually,
he never ever to me came off like a crass asshole. He always seemed like a fun guy to have a drink with, but he was just one of the guys. He's like, he's Bill and I Playboy. He's like, I like the ladies. I like to go out, but he seemed like a cool guy, like quote unquote cool dude.
Yeah,
a fun guy.
Okay.
But he never came off like an asshole. Like, even though he wasn't even, if he even said it himself, like, because people have asked him about those old interviews he did, especially like in Howard Stern. He's like, well, it's like, if I knew I was running for president, believe me, I wouldn't have did him. He's like laughing. But I'm glad he did. Everybody knows who he is. And to me, the guy did not seem evil. He just seemed like a regular Joe, a fun guy that has a lot of money that, does what a lot of guys do.
When he's challenged, he's not the best when he's challenged. That's a flaw, but that's no one's disputing that. He could deal with criticism better when challenged. He gets very belligerent. He gets very petty.
Mr. Trump.
Bullish.
Mr. Trump, you say you're a big fan of the Bible. What's your favorite verse? They're all good. They're all good. He's hilarious. He's a hilarious deflector. They're all good. Okay. Like, that's a good answer, but we know you're bullshitting. It's so funny. Like, they're all good. Yeah. But the thing is, he has to know at the end of the night, he ain't fooling nobody. He knows, like, whatever. But it just blows my mind, man. But I don't think, I think he's going to win it. Like I said, the media is represented by California and New York. You have all these the people that have all the coverage, right? These big news stations.
Yeah.
And these big shows like Saturday Night Live, these big talk show personalities, everybody with all the coverage that are tapping in to the middle of America, all the kids, everybody's on social media following Jimmy Fallon or following Stephen Colbert, CNN, and the corporate office. They're all in the same liberal states that all have a similar agenda. And I'm sorry, they just don't represent most of the country. Just like I was telling my grandparents back home, they live in the Bible Belt. I went and visited home. I was telling you, you go over there, it's Trump signs as far as the eye can see. People in Arizona even don't believe that. They think, how could anybody vote for Trump? It's evil. They literally think, how is this guy in office when everybody hates him? They literally think everybody hates him. Like, no, you're living in a little fucking fishbowl bubble. You think everybody hates him because you and your friends hate him. You guys are refusing to believe that anything exists outside of your little bubble.
Yeah.
But no. And I was telling my grandparents that too. I'm like, it's the flip side. I said, like, they believe me, they talk the same way. People over there, oh, Hillary Clinton's an evil scum or Donald Trump's amazing. I'm like, yeah, but if you go to the Southwest or the West Coast, like where I'm from, people think he's evil incarnate, and because people live in their little bubbles sometimes.
They certainly do. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I learned how to not live in a bubble when I traveled, right?
Yeah.
People perceive America a certain way on the outside because they're media.
Yeah.
Dude, I grew up in history class and we portrayed Russia, we portrayed China, we portrayed all these places in a certain light. Now, they were versions of the truth, right? But they were skewed, right? Yeah. Then you go over to these countries and you talk to some of the people and you kind of hear their side, right? Yep. Believe me, you go ask somebody that comes from Mexico about how the expansion took place, right? How California and Texas became
Sam
part of
Houston. And so on. Yeah.
Ask them how that happened. The way we're taught in America, it was more of a transaction, right? A transaction. Oh, no. You ask somebody in Mexico, from Mexico, and they take it a little more personally there. Like, no, it was taken, blood money, the whole thing. Yeah. And they have a total different twist on it, right? Yeah. I've gotten into discussions about that, and I'm like, look, I'm not saying what you're saying is not true. I'm just saying I understand how things get twisted about perspective and where you come from. And I'm saying this is how they teach it to us in our country. And I'm not saying you're not right. And I'm just like, don't get offended. I'm like, this is what they teach us and how they teach it. And I'm acknowledging that maybe they're giving us a sugar-coated version of it, right?
Of course.
So it just live outside of your bubble a little bit. But look, there are many people. The people that are going to elect Donald Trump again are the small business owners thriving through Texas, thriving through Oklahoma, thriving through Montana. Yeah. These people are going to elect Donald Trump. And you know what? I know the whole world thinks the whole United States is represented by New York City and especially Los Angeles. Like that is the country. Like I said, in Russia, they think that's
the most important part of the country.
They think, dude, I have had friends from Russia.
That's where it matters. That's where the people there, the liberal minds, the intelligent liberal minds all live in those places. They're the ones, their opinion counts the most.
That's where they have awards.
The rest of those stupid people in middle America, those Bible bashing.
That's where they have those award ceremonies where they give each other awards and pat each other on the back.
Yeah.
Like the Academy Awards. Yeah. These they're dumb, man. They're so I do not fall for any of it. Look, the idea of a group of elitists in Hollywood throwing a soiree for themselves and giving each other awards saying you're the greatest and going. Does it not look like the biggest circle jerk of all time?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like awards in general, but I mean, at least with something like the People's Choice Awards, you're at least letting viewers vote, I guess. But give me a break. Think of how stupid that is. Okay, so you have someone like Meryl Streep, who is kind of controversial to conservatives, like in the last couple of years, being outspoken, like a lot of people. When she went up there, the Academy Awards, and she thought she was being so hardcore and brave, trash talking Donald Trump, in front of a bunch of her peers and a bunch of people, Hollywood elite, that hate Donald Trump. You're preaching to a choir here. Like that's not.
She also stand up and support and applaud and support your proven sort of or alleged child molester. Woody Allen. Woody Allen. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's all that stuff. Yeah, so she applauded Woody Allen, got some kind of probably like a lifetime achievement, or maybe he got a right.
A very problematic person that she's endorsing. Or anyway, sorry, it might not have been Woody Allen.
No, it was Woody Allen. Woody Allen got some kind of award.
It was the Polish director
Roman Polanski. You're right. It was Roman Polanski.
And Roman Polanski. Up and this is someone who left the country illegally to not stand trial because he was
guilty.
Because he was guilty of having abused a 13-year-old.
It's funny.
Had sexual intercourse with a 13-year-old.
People's morals and memory is selective.
But she supported him.
It's selective, right?
Yeah.
So someone like Donald Trump, it's cool to dig up something he did however many years ago, and he doesn't get an opportunity to grow. I guarantee you Donald Trump has grown just in the last 4 years being president. Mm-hmm. You're never too old to learn. I believe you always are learning, but he's cool to hold accountable for everything he did in his past. So are all these people that get lampooned, like James Gunn, for a tweet that he apologized for 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago, and he already apologized for it. But we're still going to wreck his whole livelihood over something that he already addressed 10 years ago. Yeah, what about the
comedian? What's his name?
Roseanne, Norm Macdonald. There's a billion of them.
No, well, Norm Macdonald, bless him, awesome guy.
They fixed it. He dodged the bullet, but Norm Macdonald had to fucking do the most un-Norm Macdonald thing ever and apologize. He had to go do Norm Macdonald apologizes for nothing because it's comedy. Yeah. He actually swallowed some pride and he went on the fucking View and he apologized like a bitch. And I'm like, man, I get why you do it. You want to save your career because he's seen firsthand what it did to Roseanne, who was his close friend. Roseanne gave him his start writing on Roseanne.
With her, yeah.
Roseanne, you don't know the Roseanne thing?
No, I don't know the Roseanne thing.
That was the biggest story of last year, of the last few months. You don't know that?
No.
Do you know Roseanne? No, I don't know. You don't know Roseanne Barr? She must really not be big here.
No, she isn't. I don't know. It's not come over in the news. I read the news.
One of the biggest sitcoms.
Pretty closely,
one of the biggest sitcoms in America of all time. Roseanne. It ran from the late 80s to the late 90s.
Wow.
And it was a huge... Dude, it's never left syndication. It's almost like Seinfeld and Full House. Okay. Seinfeld, Full House, and Roseanne. Yeah. Every channel.
I don't know Full House, but I mean Seinfeld.
Oh my God. Okay, really, so same thing.
Seinfeld is very,
Okay, so Full House is a similar thing. Full House has been off the air for 22 years.
Okay.
But it's never been off the air. Every network still runs it. Like most of these shows, They go off the air for years. Nobody picks them up. They come on for a couple of years. Dude, it's never left syndication. And a show like Full House, even 20, 22 years after it stopped airing, late night airings on Nick at Night and TV Land still get over 1 million viewers. These shows are huge. And Roseanne was massive. They revived Roseanne. And I everybody listening at home, by the way, if they're in America, obviously this is redundant, but John doesn't know. Roseanne, they revived the show. They revived Roseanne after 21 years last year.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a little, like literally picked up like season 10. They picked up right where they left off. Crazy. And everybody couldn't wait. And see, she represented her show, the conservative middle lower class, which never gets represented. And that's why her show is so popular and still is today, because she represented a part of the country that never gets represented on TV anymore, right? It takes place in a small
Christian pro-life.
Well, it takes place in a small
Republican
Midwest town, Lamford, Illinois.
Wow.
Midwest, conservative, small town, not a lot of minority. They even addressed it. They had an episode way back in the day, small white town. That's the way they really are. There was an episode
was that accused now of being racist? Or
no, dude, they were always well written. Like it was true. Like there was an episode back in the day, they tackled this stuff. DJ was the youngest son. He had a play in school and he didn't want to do the play. And they at first thought, because he wasn't being open with his parents, that, well, he doesn't want to have to kiss the girl in the play. He's like, he was nervous, and they thought that was understandable. And she went to go try and talk to the teachers, right? Roseanne did. Roseanne was crass. She was kind of a crass comedian and she was really funny, but she wasn't like a bigot. And she went to talk to the teacher, be like, yeah, he's real nervous about having to kiss a girl. And then the teacher clarified it, like, no, it's because she's black. And that's a real issue, right? Because when you're white and you don't have a lot of black people or minorities in your small community, it's different. Little kids, like when you're a little kid, you see them in a store, they're always pointing like, oh, what's wrong with that guy? Because they don't know. You see someone of color that's different. Little kids are going to be curious, right? Yeah. And anyway, that was
in the same way that if you were in Japan, a little kid would point out like a white kid.
They did. Different. They did. Yeah. They want to come up to me and touch me and ask me. Yeah, it's really weird. But I'm saying it's natural. You can't get mad at that. Anyway, the episode was really good. And she actually talked to DJ, her and John Goodman plays the dad. Yeah. John Goodman's an American just institution. He's amazing. He's a national treasure. Yeah. And they both talked to him like, hey, they try to explain to him like, no, that is not right. It's racist. It's like, she's like everybody else and whatever. Yeah. And they approached it in a very real way, in a good way. Okay. It's a great show. It represented a part of the country that doesn't get represented anymore. Anyway, they brought it back. Yeah. They brought it back in a time where maybe that show wouldn't fly. We're talking last year, right? Donald Trump is the president. It's different, but it shattered ratings. It came back and it destroyed. It did like 20 million viewers, which is insane. It was the highest rated sitcom in years and years, and ABC's ever had in years. Yeah. And it was a monster hit. Anyway, Roseanne, they completed the first season, like 10 episodes. And then Roseanne has a history of mental illness. She's been very vocal about it. Okay. And anyway, she's a victim of Twitter. She gets on Twitter. And she takes Ambien, right? And she was taking Ambien to sleep, and she's on medications for her mental thing.
In the show, sorry?
No, in real life. Oh, in real life. Okay. So she's very outspoken. The thing is, she's always been like that. She's always been controversial on the things that she says.
So Roseanne is her name in real life.
Yeah, her name's Roseanne. Okay. The show's called Roseanne. It's like Seinfeld, right? Okay, yeah. It was based on her comedy, just like Seinfeld was. Okay. But she's always been very outspoken. The thing is they hired her. They know who Roseanne is, right? But clearly they weren't prepared for Roseanne in this era. Like, you guys hired her. You guys wanted her back. And they
came with
stuff
that doesn't fly.
In the last handful of years, she's been on Twitter. Before the show ever came back, she says crazy shit on Twitter.
What are we saying? Like, what crazy shit? What are we talking
about? Wacky shit. She's very conservative. She's pro-Trump. She's pro-Trump. She's pro-Israel too. She's a Jewish woman, and she just says some
kind of Islamophobic kind of coming across.
She does controversial stuff, but in what's most important to this is that she's
female John Wayne kind of thing.
She's pro-Trump. That's what's most effective here. Anyway, one night, literally, it happened overnight. The biggest show on TV. It was huge, and actually, when they brought her show back after being dead for 22 years. You had all these other networks announcing revivals of other old shows, right? Oh my God, this is huge. People love this. Yeah. And overnight, she sent out a tweet saying a particular person under Obama's cabinet, this woman that was, I guess, half black, she said an off-color joke. She said something about she looks like Islamic Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby, something like that, right? But she didn't know. Apparently, she didn't know she was black. She thought she was. She thought she was something else. I think she thought, and it's, if you look at her, it's kind of fair enough. It doesn't matter though. It turns out she was black, and they took Planet of the Apes as like a racial slur.
Okay,
dude, 2 seconds. No jury. No, let's hear her out. No, let's hear some context. Let's let her apologize. They canceled or fired her, canceled the biggest show on TV. And
they canceled the show.
The biggest show is a revival. It was huge. Yeah. It was only 10 episodes in. It
was 10 episodes in already in 2018. It was and they canceled it
in a matter of an hour. It was like she was fired.
What network was
ABC?
ABC.
And the president of ABC was a black woman. That probably helped too. But the thing is what they should have did is they should have acknowledged, look, you guys know who Roseanne is.
Who did she describe in that way? Who was it? It was
I can't remember.
Politician or just someone in the show?
Yeah,
Someone...
No, politician.
A politician
because she gets political and stuff like that.
Yeah. She said something very demeaning which was interpreted as being a slur or...
It was interpreted as being like
so the equivalent of saying he looks like a Trump, because one of the slurs you hear against Donald Trump, he looks like a dead animal on his head, and he looks like an orange scrotum sack. When she tried to explain it afterwards, like her logic kind of made sense. Like, oh, that was the way she was twisting it because she thought it was this. And Planet of the Apes can mean a couple of things, right? Yep. There's obviously that movie represented a couple of political type of overtones and things like that. Mm-hmm. The only good human is a dead human. Us versus them or whatever. But anyway, like I said, when she made these comments, she didn't know that she was part black. And so something Planet of the Apes takes on a new meaning, right? Then they take it as a racial thing, right? Because people, attributing, it became something totally different. Anyway, they didn't hear her out. They didn't give her nothing. They just fired her, and they put her on the line. And she was already suffering from mental illness, and they should have let her apologize. They should have let her go on their talk shows, at least give her a platform, right? Yeah. And because most people, I think, stood by her, and they acted too rash, but it was horrible. Like, her career's over. And you know what? Trying to make a joke out of it. Was it a joke, or was like she said a serious opinion?
Serious, but a joke. But she thing was like, I was taking Ambien. She's like, I was drinking and taking Ambien. And I guess Joe Rogan was even talking about it. He's like, oh, it's like, I'm not defending her or anything, but it's like, you meet people that take Ambien, especially with booze, it makes you say fucked up shit and you act crazy and you say weird stuff. Yeah. And I'm not saying that makes it right.
But the liberals are just not going to accept that, of course. It's like, no, that she said it.
She's clearly, she's mentally ill and she's very vocal about it, and she deals with it. So it's like, are you guys shaming her for being mentally ill, or which fence are you guys on? Because I thought we're not supposed to shame mentally ill. The progressives are all about, pushing for workforces to give sick days for mental illness, and like, it's supposed to be more progressive. But when someone like her says something that doesn't fit an agenda,
that's just straight racism or whatever.
But when it came off color, and it's one of those things where, like we were said earlier, that didn't come off the way I wanted it to. Yeah. But it's on Twitter, so it's immortal. Like, it's there, it's permanent. Yeah. But anyway, they should have postponed it. They should have put it on suspension and everything, and let kind of some stuff blow over, let her talk. But no, there was no nothing in it, and it did horrible for her, man. She did interviews, and she was really in a bad place. She's still in a bad place, and she did what she felt was the right thing. She's like, I feel horrible for what I was a part of, and she's like, I feel bad that I'm costing all these good people, the people that she knew for decades. I'm costing them work. Right, because these actors that were on Roseanne, dude, some of them hadn't worked in ever. They were probably living off the residuals of the old show. So she did a pretty noble thing, and she owned the show. It was her show. She signed away all the rights to the show and sold it to the network, and they created a spinoff with her, and they continued the next season, and they called it the Connors instead of the Roseanne, which is their
network.
ABC. No, she sold the rights to ABC so they could keep making the show without her and write her off so they could work. So all the writers and stuff could work, because she felt bad that they were all losing because of something that she was a part of. So now they have a show on the air called The Connors. That was her last name, Roseanne Connor. So instead of Roseanne, they call it The Connors, and it's basically Roseanne without the star.
Oh, Jesus. Is it working at all? Or
I've watched it, and you know what? It's a basic,
bit like 3 Men and a Boy.
Oh, 2.5 Men.
2.5 Men. Sorry, excuse me. 2.5 Men without Charlie Sheen.
It's not bad, but it's basically it's reduced to a very basic sitcom. Like, you can watch it, you can take it or leave it. It's whatever, but it's missing it. It's like
missing something.
It's like, wow, is this Roseanne without Roseanne? Yeah. And you're trying trying to make people that weren't the focus now, and it's messed up.
Yeah.
And the ratings are showing. The ratings are not
Same with
nearly
2.5 Men. I mean, without Charlie Sheen, it's just not the same.
But she no longer
lose interest.
But she gets no money from it. She sold her property so they could have work. So anyway, running a bit long, but it's ridiculous, man. The political culture. I was curious of what you guys thought about it over here and how it looks. Sometimes I feel like when I go to New York City or somewhere like that, I do feel like I'm stepping outside of the country, right?
Yeah.
Because we have people that just see things, like I said, through a different bubble. It doesn't even take crossing the ocean.
And it's the same here. Like if you step outside of London and if you travel outside of the country and you go like to the north of England, which is where predominantly the majority of people who voted for Brexit, they're not going to be in London. You know, the majority of people in London voted to stay in the EU. There's no question. It's a very tiny minority. But you go outside of the country, just like you go into Middle America, and you have the people in the north, all the big cities in the north, and all parts of the country. And they are the ones who voted for Brexit. They are the ones who, in the end, there's just enough majority to usually keep conservative, or Tory as they're called here. For any listeners who may not know, Tories or conservatives, to keep them in power. There's always a majority that will vote that way, that are nationalistic, that are Britain first or England first, that do want caps on immigration, that do have concerns with Islam and things and so on and so forth, and who do want to leave the EU for a number of reasons, which people may or may not know about. But those people are all around the country, and it's very different. You say it's like going to a different place. When you leave London, it's a different country. There's far less minorities. It's like if you go into some places in Middle America, you were saying some small towns. If you go to some places outside of London, there aren't a lot of Asians or blacks or Polish or whatever it is. It's completely different. And people think differently. They have a different experience, and they are more patriotic. They are more nationalistic, and they are the bulk of the people that voted. They voted for Brexit. Does London represent the entire country? Well, obviously it's insular. When you're in London, Londoners like to think they do. They know better than the rest of the country. But the problem with that is, do you know better than someone who lives in a place like Bradford, which is like becoming it's such a Muslim area, which I can understand people that have problems with religion, problems with Islam. Does living in London, do you understand what it's like for people living in other parts of the country that are struggling in different ways, that are affected by whatever ties you have to the EU, to the European Union? So do you know what's best for people outside the country? Do New Yorkers know what's best for someone in a small town in Middle America? They're going to look at what's going to make their life better, what's going to bring jobs to their town, and that might be Trump. So it's always people. It's arrogant, and it's patronizing of people, liberals or people in liberal states or liberal cities, to try to speak, or they know what's best for the rest of the country. And the rest of the country, of course, is racist, xenophobic, patriotic, just generally just racist. And they're not listening to them on all these topics. Immigration here is always a big topic. It's a little bit different than the Mexico issue, because there isn't obviously an influx. You do have people coming over on boats, but there isn't that influx of people coming illegally across a border. Well, this is like voluntarily,
You guys have a different issue. Yours is more like a radical Islam and things like that. Or you guys have more of that going on?
Of course, yeah. Because we've been, Europe as a whole, the European Union dictated to every country within the European Union, said, we're deciding against whatever the majority of people in your country want, that you should take X amount of refugees because Syria is a war-torn country, and so on and so forth, and you have to take this amount of refugees. And of course, do we know all those people, who is coming in, who they are? But they are not necessarily vetted, but they are voluntarily brought. Same in my country, same in Denmark. In my mom's hometown, for instance, we have like in many Danish towns, you have like a sort of a community center that's set up with apartments and with like a sporting complex or whatever, and people from Syria are housed there, and it's a nice gesture. You could agree, it's a really nice gesture. It's a generous gesture to help people that are escaping from a war-torn country, but it does bring problems. It brings a host of problems. There's always bad apples, as you said before. There's always bad apples in a small minority, but there's always bad apples that engage in crime, that are raping or abusing women or whatever. It's always a small minority in my town in Denmark, in places in Denmark.
when in Rome, my friend,
Yeah.
because you know how many times we've seen on the news where there's somebody coming from a particular country in the Mideast
Yep.
that was practicing what they might do in their country in another country,
Yeah.
like raping a 13-year-old girl or a 12-year-old girl, or doing
Yeah.
these things that look, yo, that does not slide. You know, like, so if you're going to come to another country, you better do as we do. I'm sorry, you have to assimilate. You have to. That's out of respect, right? You don't bring. I mean, this is a totally separate podcast, so I think we should maybe talk about this particular thing. We could get into the whole Sharia law and just certain practices.
Well, also
over
the
there.
point that you made about should you, because this is where people differ, the opinions differ on this. How much should you assimilate when you go to another country? You know, it's a big discussion. There's two very opposing arguments on that. You know, I probably agree with you on that. You probably feel like that. I think that's the right thing to do. If you're going to another country, you should assimilate. You should learn the language.
Of course. Well, I think it's totally fine to, like, say, come to America and build your communities. Like I said, it doesn't always. Sometimes you can be so introverted to where you're not really participating in America, but you know, at the same time, you might be adding culture, like these Polish neighborhoods in Chicago, or you know, your various Chinatowns, or whatever. They definitely add something, and there's all about cultural diversity is amazing. So I think you should
Bring something different.
retain that for sure. Like retain your heritage, have that. That's wonderful. People in America, we clearly take advantage of it, right? I love eating Chinese food. I love eating that stuff, but I do think maybe a good place to start is I think people should learn the language, right? Everybody should learn the language. There's a little bit, just give an inch, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And I think maybe a minute ago you made a good comment that transitions into what I like to call the Jerry Springer final thought, because I like to end things on something.
Yeah.
But you said it before. I think a lot of compromise comes through understanding. A lot of meeting in the middle comes by understanding. But we were talking about living in that bubble. You said, you know, people in New York don't know what's best for people in, you know, Kansas or whatever, or, you know, Bradford from London. Look, don't sit there and cast stones saying, hey, look, the only people that voted for Trump, they must be xenophobic. They must be racist. Oh, no. That's you living in your stupid bubble. You need to accept the fact that there are places in other parts of this country that have an abundance of other reasons they voted for somebody, right? It doesn't have to be you saying anybody voted for Donald Trump as a racist. You're calling sweet people like my grandfather, who's the most ideal Christian I've ever met in my life. This is a man that walks the walk, man. He doesn't just talk it. You are talking out of your ass if you're saying everybody's a bigoted fool. But no, there's a million reasons for someone to vote for a particular party. I mean, think about it. It's a limited option. We got a two-party system here, man. Right? Are you really going to like everything about everyone? No, you have to pick where your core values are most aligned, right?
Yeah.
And there's a million reasons why people voted for Donald Trump, right? And it's absolutely asinine for people to not see outside of their bubble and realize that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just because in LA, you don't have to grow your own vegetables or kill your own cattle for your meat doesn't mean somebody else isn't doing it and selling it to your favorite vegan restaurants and stuff that you frequent. I mean, it's absolutely stupid. Everybody thinks they go to their favorite hot vegan restaurant or their favorite nightclub or whatever, and that shit's just materializing out of thin air, right? It's stupid. So that's, I think, where we should cap that conversation. And only because we teased it earlier, I feel it'd be a crime not to give a minute or two to it. Yeah. But we were talking about the Liam Neeson thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So we brought it up. So we'll end it on that. So,
and abortion.
Oh my God. Let's save it. Abortion is a bit heavy, man.
It's heavy.
I mean,
it's heavy and it needs time to, Anyway.
Well, okay. We'll try and rope this, right? Because I don't want to go too long, but abortion, we'll make it quick.
Okay.
I've made this clear with you, and I think a lot of people, but I can honestly say what I would do. Yeah. But like I said, I will never be a woman. I will never 100%, just like I'll never know what it's like to be somebody from Mexico. Yeah. Right. That, wants to take advantage of certain things that are just there for the taking, Yeah. So while I know what I would want to do, I'm not going to pretend to say I could ever be in that situation. That's why, like I said, I'm iffy on the whole fact of, should the government be forcing people? No. I think people Maybe it's like a moral dilemma somebody has to come to themselves. I don't know. But now we're in a situation where states like Virginia and stuff like that, I think New York is on the heels, passing third trimester abortions, people that you can abort babies all the way up until the day they're to be born. Look, now there's some stipulation there, right? So they have to get 3 approvals from 3 different doctors to sign off on it that basically agree that the birthing of this child will somehow harm the mother or harm the something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so at least it's not just anybody can go into Planned Parenthood and fucking just shove a bamboo shoot up their vagina and call it good. So there's at least something there. But to me, there's a problem there. I don't think it would be that much because, hopefully most people would know there's an issue with the birth before the 3rd trimester, for crying out loud. So it sounds like it's still quite a gray area, right? Yeah. It's a gray area that who knows what causes that? Who knows what causes there to be an issue that late in the game that you didn't know about before? So I can't speak for them. And I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to call someone a murderer necessarily, because I don't know their situation, right? For all I know, it was a really tough situation to make. I'm not saying it was the right decision, but maybe it was a decision regardless that was really hard on them, right? That was probably not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you carried a baby the term that long. I'm not going to assume that was their first option.
Maybe it was a baby that was going to be born with a serious defect and a lot of pain. And it would not be the moral option. It would not be compassionate to let that baby live.
Well, I have to give the benefit of the doubt that anybody that carried a baby that late in the term, their first option was to have it, right? And maybe they didn't bargain for the dilemma that hit them at that late in the game. And if they really did make that decision, if it's right or it's wrong, I'm not saying either or. I can't assume that was easy for them to make. So for someone to call someone a murderer that made a decision like that, that's got to be devastating.
It's ridiculous.
That's got to be devastating. So it's a big gray area thing. Now, the only thing I can say about it is, I think this is tough. I would think, and once again, this is a whole thing about I'm not a woman. I'll never be in that situation, so take it at value. I would hope if I was a mother or a parent in general, that if that got presented to me, if it was maybe there's other variables here, but let's say it was a case of, okay, look, if you have this baby, it might kill you because that's part of it's going to be dangerous to the mother. That's one of the stipulations. If I was the parent, I would hope I would make the move of saying, you know what, I love this kid, even though I haven't met him yet or her yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if this kid was in this world tomorrow, if this kid was a day old or 5 days old or a year old, I would do anything for my kids. I would sacrifice my life in a second to save that kid. So what's different about it being underneath a layer of belly fat? It's there. It's alive. It's blinking. It's breathing. This baby could have been premature and born a month ago, right? Yeah. It's alive. So I would hope to God, I'd be like, this baby, so having this baby, there's a 50-50 chance or a 90-10 chance or a 95-5 chance it's going to kill me. Roll the dice. Yeah. Right. But if you can save my baby, I would hope to God that's what I would do. Right. Yeah. Like I said, a whole bunch of other variables there. Maybe those moms have other kids at home to worry about. Maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff at play. I get it. But to make it very simple, I would hope in a perfect scenario that I'm hoping there's people that aren't in simplified situations like that aren't making that choice. I want to assume that there's way more variables at play. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's really all I'm going to say about it. You can say something. Yeah.
I mean, I'm almost loath to get into the subject because it's a big subject, but
if it's just to strictly save their skin, like if it's a mother and father that don't have any other kids, no other issues, or maybe they just don't want to afford the kid, or maybe, like I said, maybe it's just, hey, look, we have no other responsibilities but this soon to be kid and it might kill me, then I do think it's the wrong choice. You need to take that bullet. I that's me. You need to roll the dice. But
I think there are situations. The problem is with the debate that the only examples that are brought up are these extreme examples, and we ignore all the other times when I don't think it was necessarily it wasn't morally acceptable, when it was just an inconvenience. Mm-hmm. These extreme examples, when someone was raped, when someone was like it could potentially kill the mother, when it was like a serious medical defect or a serious deformation, and it could cause, it'd be a really difficult and painful, almost a cruelty to bring that into the world, right?
Depending on who you ask. Some people, even at that point, some people want to leave that to God. right?
I agree. I'm sure there are.
Some people want to leave that to God.
know.
Some people don't want to devalue that person. You know, somebody's born with a deformity or maybe like Down syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
These are people that still can offer something to
There's
society.
been like cases where like a baby's been coming out and the doctor sees like that the arm is fused to the back of the shoulder, and it's, you know, it's a really serious thing, like to, you know. But then I can understand the argument for like, you know, that's still a life. It's still a life. But it's going to be a life filled with so much suffering, probably a lot of pain, but not just anguish or psychological suffering, but like pain, physical pain, problems. You know, is it just and right and compassionate to bring that case into the world, that child into the world with those conditions? You know, so these are, anyway, they're very extreme examples. Whatever your opinion is, these are very extreme examples, but they're the only ones that keep getting brought up as the main examples of the debate. But we know that the vast majority of abortions are not for serious, they're for inconvenience. Financially, I'm not prepared for this. Financially, I'm not set up. You know, I'm a single parent or whatever it is. It's an inconvenience. It's going to make my life more complex. I'm not financially stable at the moment. And the majority of abortions are not for these extreme examples.
Using abortion as a method of birth control.
Yeah.
Is not good. No, I agree.
Is it moral? Is it acceptable? The way it's done?
The thing is the old debate before we had the whole third trimester abortions thing going around. The old debate was, okay, it being a human life at this point or not being at this point, right? That was a huge debate. Oh, it's a human life. Some people are like, no, before this trimester, it's not a human life. It's that whole debate. Okay, I'm not saying I think it's a human life. I do believe it's a human life, but I'm not saying I'm not on that side of the fence. But at least I understand the argument. Like, okay, we have a debate here. We at least have a debate here. When we're talking about third trimester, like, man, you're really losing we better really get into some serious specific circumstances and to really hold some weight, because that argument of is it a life, you cannot try and tell somebody that it's not alive at that point, right?
And if I understand correctly, in New York are trying to pass legislation that makes it acceptable for late term. Is that correct? Is that more or less in New York? It's some legislation they're attempting to pass.
I think so.
Make late
term in general.
Yeah, because at the moment, late term is not legal, right? Past a certain point, it's illegal you cannot abort. Is that correct?
I want to say you have to do it in the first trimester.
Yeah.
Right. The first 3 months you have to abort.
Okay.
I want to say.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's second. I really don't know. It might differ from states. I'm not that
ultimately
versed.
What I give to the completely and 100% pro-choice crowd is, you know, if let's just say I agree with you on everything, on all these extreme examples, on that if the mother's life is in jeopardy, that it should be an abortion. If you were raped and you don't, and the anguish of having your rapist child, seeing that grow, that's going to be hard. If we can even just agree on all of those being wrong, what about all the rest of ones? What do you feel about all the rest of ones? You see, that's a question they often can't answer. What about all the rest of it? Let's just say I agree with you, and I personally kind of do agree with them. But even if I was someone from the other side, if I was a real conservative, really like I was even far right conservative, and I disagreed with that. But even if I just said, look, let's just say I agree with you on those. What about all the other times when it's purely for convenience, or it's because of an inconvenience?
Irresponsible. It's lame. Yeah. It's weak. It's irresponsible. It's horrible.
Is it morally acceptable? Is it morally acceptable to end that child's life? Do you have a moral argument for it? Is there? And that's, I kind of wish we had someone here on that side of it maybe they could explain to me how that's moral.
Look, if it's an inconvenience to your wallet at that point, there's a million families that can't have kids that would love to adopt it. Okay, and even at that point, then your excuse might be, well, then I don't want to have to carry it for 9 months and bond with it. It'll be too hard to give it up. Like, well, do you want the fucking kid or do you not want the fucking kid? Yeah. You're saying you don't want the kid now, but later it'll be too hard to give it up. Like, well, then then why don't you just fucking carry it to term and make your decision later? Like, it sounds like you'll either want it or...
Because it seems like people kind of default back when you throw them that kind of question. They seem to default back to the standard argument, which you brought up before. It's my body. I'm a female. You as a man have no right to decide, or the state, which I sympathize with, as you do, that the state has no right to dictate to me what I do. And I really get that. At the same time, and I fully accept, I really think a woman should choose. But just because a woman has a right to choose to do with her body does not make it moral. It still does not make it moral. I'm not saying I would be against a man enforcing on a woman what to do, forcing her what to do with such a intimate, personal, private part of your very essence of you within your own body. That doesn't make it morally right. That's the argument. Is it morally right in a case, not one of these extreme cases, but in a case of inconvenience? You think psychologically or financially, it would be an inconvenience. It would be tough.
Do you think there's a line where we just reach a point where it's like, look, right or wrong, this is kind of something where I think God just has to take it. Let this kind of be between God, your higher power, and that person, right? Because there's too many gray issues there.
Well, the religion aspect is really important in this whole discussion. It's got to come in, and it's got to come into the discussion.
But from a legal aspect, there's too many gray areas when it comes to abortion. And you're right. And it's like nobody wants the government to step in too much into our lives. Nobody wants that, right? No. But unfortunately, sometimes that's a blanketed thing. It's like
too big government is a big problem.
It's a bad thing, and it sucks because when you blanket something, there's certain parts that you don't like, and there's certain parts you like.
Possible is ideal.
So yeah, like I said, it's a blanketed thing, which makes some people happy with some things and other things not so much. So I mean, yeah, there are really tough areas that I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, go with God on your choice. I know there's a choice in my heart. Like in my heart, I want to say that kid can have a life and have the opportunity that we all had, for better or for worse. But I'm kind of powerless here.
Man, I was just seeing a comment. I was watching a YouTube video this morning on there was an abortion debate. I was just seeing one of the comments, and someone put a comment saying, the person, my mother who had me, she was considering an abortion, and I'm so thankful that she decided against it. That's such a powerful thing, man.
Yeah.
She said, I'm so glad that my mother decided against it. Mm-hmm. She put me up for adoption. We have a great relationship. He put me up for adoption, but I'm just grateful. That's a life that would not have been.
Of course.
That would not have been lived. It's such a life. It's like a 1 in a million thing, man.
Well, and a lot of the abortions,
it's a 1 in a million
a lot
thing.
of the abortions that happen early in, when it comes to the baby coming out a certain way, like it's the baby's health, they don't know for a fact. They're like, there's signs that are pointing like there's a chance this child might be born autistic. They don't know yet. They're just kind of going off research and but you don't know.
It's often a case of could be.
Yeah, exactly.
It could
and there's plenty of times.
But let's use the example of what if we were like 99% sure that child was going to come out autistic or with a big mental disability.
Look, I mean, autism. There's plenty of people that are functioning with autism.
One of my cousins is autistic. I'm not even comfortable using that as an example.
Very functioning, and you know what? People with autism, they're very good at certain things that people that aren't are. Asperger's is a form of autism, dude. Yeah. I mean, I know one of my best friends in the world. He has a stepson with Asperger's. Yeah. That kid is literally a genius. Yeah. He is a genius. Yeah. He graduated high school at like 14. Yeah. He started college at like. Yeah. I mean,
there's even people with physical disabilities. There's what's the Van An? Is that his name? He's a writer for like one of the comedy shows. And he's got a big physical disability. I can't remember the name of the condition that he has, but it doesn't affect your mind at all. You're all there, but you're not in control of your body. So when you're a kid, you can barely get your own socks on. That can take 20 minutes because it's a lack of motor.
Like Tourette's.
No, not Tourette's. Oh. Tourette's is when you can't control like what you say and twitches and things like that. Your speech.
There's two versions of it, yeah.
Okay, but I don't think it's Tourette's. But I mean, I'm not sure. You might be right. But it's a motor neurons or motor control where you've lost complete motor control. Your body is doing. Your eyes might be moving around without you controlling them. Your hands. That's a severe thing. But this guy he's a functioning, happy, amazing person. He's a writer for. His name escapes me. Should he have been should he have been aborted? I mean, I
mean, when people have something that we put a label on, like autism or some kind of like ailment, it's nothing but a name for an advanced version of what we all got.
Yeah.
Look, I got a brother that is amazing with computers.
Yeah.
He's super technologically savvy,
Yeah.
but he couldn't pat his head and rub his stomach at the same time to save his
Yeah.
life. He can't even really ride a bike.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like the most skilled at that.
Or
like,
hand-to-eye coordination skills.
He's not that guy.
No.
He could never play an instrument, right?
Just
but
clumsy.
he could never do anything like that. But
Yeah.
he
Motor
could,
skills, bad.
but
Yeah.
he could do code and build computers, and he's really smart at certain things.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I can play guitar. I can do all that stuff. I'm very much that guy. I could probably ride a unicycle, right? But I cannot wrap my head around aspects of technology and computers and whatever. Look, some people are good at things and they're bad at other things.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have someone like, for example, we're talking about Asperger's, for people with Asperger's and this guy in particular, it's a social thing. He's not very good socially and he's kind of socially awkward.
Yeah.
But that dude way excels me in math at certain things. Like these people have value in other places. Trust me.
Yeah.
And
a good example is my cousin in Denmark. He's 16 now. His name is Toka, which is like it's in Danish by Norse mythology.
Yeah.
It's you know he's not Asperger's. He's autistic, and
well, it's a form of autism, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Fair. I didn't know. But he lacks social skills, social awareness. He struggles in crowds of people. He's going to be unconfident. He's going to struggle with people. He sees social situations in a very different way to you or I. But he's absolutely brilliant in so many things. Whatever he puts his mind to, that guy has talents that I wish that we would kill to have.
Yeah.
You know, he took up drumming. He decided that he liked drumming. He became like an incredible. He started devouring YouTube and like tutorial videos and DVD sets of how to drum. He's like an incredible drummer. I could never get to that level within a few years. He's like one of the top Minecraft players because he became obsessed with that. He does like Rubik's cubes. He does the most advanced ones. He can do them with his eyes closed. I could never get there. Whatever he puts his mind to, he can excel at because you get a certain kind of focus.
Yeah.
With some of these, with autism, often a certain kind of like laser-like focus. You can focus on one task obsessively and successfully.
It's almost like there's.
I wish I could have that.
There's parts and channels of their brain that are activated that mine aren't and yours aren't, right?
Yeah.
So you know,
absolutely.
And I know there's varying degrees of things like autism, right? There's very extreme cases. There's very manageable cases, but there are people that have done inspiring things. Dan Aykroyd, he's the one that comes to mind. Dan Aykroyd had autism. Yes. Yeah. And, you know, successful Saturday Night Live, Ghostbusters, all kinds of films, writer of Ghostbusters franchise. Now he owns a tequila line.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a businessman. I mean, the guy, and he's kind of quirky. If you ever hear him talk, you know, he's got a fast way of speaking. He's into some weird stuff.
I've never seen him in an interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know.
And back in the day, he's been very vocal about it. He's like, with my autism, Tourette's is sometimes linked to autism. He's like, I used to have bad Tourette's. I went to therapy and shit like that. I used to have all the tics and all crazy stuff. But yeah, he's got a form of autism, and that guy obviously is manageable. Can be
more severe, more mild.
But like I said, you got to roll those dice. If they say, look, he might have autism, are they guaranteeing you a degree of that? And are they guaranteeing you it's going to happen at all? Like, does that devalue the life that they're going to have outside of that?
If it is the case, we don't really know exactly. In a lot of cases, there might be a few. There might be a few where they really know the exact outcome, and it's going to be unacceptable. But in a lot of cases, we're not really going to know. There might be some, to varying degrees, there might be a disability.
And it's not fair to make this comparison because I know it's not exactly the same because nobody's forcing it. But getting rid of people that you deem to be genetically inferior.
Now we're getting to like Third Reich.
Are we getting into there's
Hitler
a little man with a funny mustache that was preaching that pretty hardcore. And like I said, he was forcing it. So it's not quite the same, but think about it. If it gray area, obviously there's but if it just comes down to inconvenience or this child might be autistic, you know, and at that point, is it because of, it's probably because of, I don't want to see my kid going through that. But you know what? Maybe a part of it is too, like, man, this kid's going to be living with me forever potentially. Or they're thinking of the worst case scenarios where it's going to cost me a fortune, whatever. I'm like, look, sometimes you just kind of have to roll with the punches. I think a little bit, right? And just go with what hand God deals you. But I think that's a good place to end it. I wanted to talk about Liam Neeson. I think we're going to have to do it another time because we've gone kind of long. We've covered a lot of ground, man.
Yeah.
John Milan, everybody.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, nice talking to you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I want to go ahead and pitch it really quick on the Revival House Network. I don't know if you guys are watching us on YouTube or whatever, but if you are, in the description below, you can obviously follow channels that'll take you to all of our podcast formats. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast fix, you can find us. The episodes go up earlier there, and they are usually... I don't want to say unabridged because we don't edit anything out, but we can get away with a little bit more things. Obviously, YouTube is policed by Google, and they're super anal about little things we throw in, ear candy, especially with our other shows. Speaking of the other shows, we obviously have the Behind the Mask commentaries. That's BTM Podcast. Those go up every Wednesday. We've got Mac and Zach Save the World, typically up on Mondays. We got our Twitch channel where we do our retro rampages. Those go live on Sundays. And we have the brand new Cinema Enema podcast, old school style podcast where we break down and talk about films and really dissect it. And we don't have to worry about watching a film while we do it, which is great. And a bunch of other stuff. And obviously keep an eye out for more Deep End. And and if you want to know whenever Zach and I are going live with our other shows, because we do live commentaries every now and again where you guys can be a part of it, which are always a blast to do. Follow us on all social media. We're everywhere. That way we'll alert you when we're going to go live and you guys can join us. That's all I got. Bye-bye, puppets.
Bye-bye.